On this channel, we've covered toxic characters, overpowered characters, and even the perfect character. But today, let's discuss a character so broken that she changed tournaments forever. After a quick word from our sponsor.
Cease before you doom us all. So are you just gonna keep doing this like every week or? No, it can't be. It's
Awesome anime apparel at KaiokenClothing.com with 5% off any purchase by using code DOG. These guys deliver worldwide and offer an incredible selection of clothing to satisfy your otaku needs. Me personally, I love My Hero Academia and Dragon Ball Z, and all the designs are made in-house and there's tons of reviews as well. So make sure to satiate your love for anime and save money while doing it with Kaioken Clothing. Now let's talk about Tanya, the character so unintentionally strong that NetherRealm created a 2-week waiting period for every DLC character that came after. But what about this character was so powerful? Honestly, a bit of everything. But let's talk about it. So for starters, we have to talk about the teleports. These things easily made Tanya the most mobile character in the entire game. As an easy example, I'm just gonna jump backwards and teleport right away. And look at this, I'm already full screen. If I walk backwards, there's nowhere else to go. I'm as far away as I can possibly get with a single teleport. And then if I want to teleport forward, it's the exact same story. I'm already right in the opponent's face. So right off the bat, this means Tanya pretty much never had to run outside of combos, because just her teleports alone covered the entire screen. And keep in mind, Tanya is invincible when she turns into sand, so she can go through fireballs, she can avoid attacks, all that dirty stuff in the middle of her teleport. And while she is vulnerable at the end of the teleport, she can attack right away, and this is after she was nerfed. Before the nerf, she could recover pretty much instantly, so she just got to attack and you had to hold it. Because even though it was possible to theoretically hit her, if you mistimed it, you were eating a full combo. However, these teleports were for much more than just mobility. They were also for combos. If you spent the bar, this was your go-to way to start combos. And then on top of that, the meter burn version also had armor, so it's also a go-to wake up as well. And once again, since Tanya recovered immediately, it meant you could pretty much never punish this thing. Because if you tried and your timing was even slightly off, she got a full combo on you. So a lot of Tanya players would just wake up for free. And in fact, you didn't even need meter to pressure the opponent with the teleport if you had them cornered. So let me go ahead and put Reptile in the corner here. So when you had the opponent cornered, you could just guarantee pressure off of this teleport, because what are they going to do? And we're still not done, because these teleports could also be held down and cancelled, which meant of course you can go for a cheeky throw, but what a lot of players would actually do is just cancel into teleport and then keep their offense going. And as the opponent, you could try to punish this, but Tanya recovered so ridiculously fast that it pretty much had to be a read. You couldn't actually do it on reaction. And that's a very big risk, because once again, Tanya had the meter burn teleport that would launch you for a full combo. And that's why even at the pro level, you didn't see very many players interrupting the teleport cancel. So as you can see, these teleports were very busted. They were great for mobility, they recovered very quickly, and they were invincible when Tanya turned into sand. And then on top of that, the meter burn version could extend combos and had armor, which made it one of the best wake ups in the game since it still recovered so quickly. And last but not least, you could cancel it for more pressure on block. These teleports were ridiculous, and even after being nerfed, they're still very, very good. And real quick, it's worth noting that Tanya's damage was also nerfed, and on top of that, her go-to combo ender no longer combos like it should. So before, Tanya would just do this, and it was a lot of damage, but NetherRealm took that away, and as a result, Tanya's combos don't hurt as much as they used to, but this chick was pretty much guaranteed 37% in every variation, even for a universal combo. So not only was this character crazy mobile, but her damage was also one of the highest in the game, at least from mid-screen. Now, Tanya's teleports were just one thing that made her really busted in this game. Next up, let's talk about her wake-ups, and you might be wondering, how can wake-ups be broken? That doesn't make any sense. Well, allow me to explain. Now, we already talked about the teleport, right? This was armored, but Tanya had like 5 different moves that were armored when she first came out. She was just a wake-up queen. However, what made her wake-up game extra dirty were these 2 moves. So for starters, she had low spin kick. So a pretty good drill. She's very low to the ground, and if she spins bar, it's armored. Now it's no longer armored, they got rid of that, but when she first came out, it was. So she had an armored low, and this bad girl could extend combos. So already we have a low armored attack for wake up that is also great for starting combos. But then on top of that, we have the flip kick. So this move hits overhead and has much better range, and if you spent the bar, it was also armored. And this meant that Tanya had 50-50s on wake up. So if you knocked Tanya down, it was now a guessing game for you. Do you block low? Well, she has an overhead. Do you block high? Well, she has a low, and that low starts off combos, so pick your poison. And look, 50-50s are nothing new to Mortal Kombat X. There are plenty of characters characters that have them, I just find it crazy that Tanya had 50/50s on her wake up game as well. And that's about it for Tanya's universal stuff, so now let's talk about the different variations. So Tanya was lucky enough to have 3 godlike variations. None of them were bad, but when she first came out, everyone gravitated towards Kobo Jutsu. And this variation had a lot of stuff going for it. So for starters, a bunch of unique strings that she normally did not have, so she could just mix up players who already didn't know what this character could do because she just got even more stuff in this variation, especially this back 1 string right here. So back 1 2+4 was so good. It's a mid, starts up in 10 frames, so go for it down 3. This thing's only -1 on block, by the way, so even if you block it, you better do a fast move, otherwise this mid is catching you right away. And not only was this move fast, but it was also a great hit confirm because you had all day to see if something landed with those first 3 hits, and then you would just cancel into her special moves and go from there. So first up, let's talk about Tonfa Swipes. So this first hit, for starters, only -7, so most characters cannot punish this whatsoever, and even if your character could punish that, she could just finish it and spin the bar, and now she's completely safe. And before the nerfs, there was no gap anywhere during this. And then on top of that, you can also delay that last hit, which can be very, very sneaky. It catches people all the time. And then Tanya could also enhance the first hit as well, and yes, this has armor, completely, and it hits twice, and also the follow-up now becomes safe. I'm not sure why, but it just does. So normally that second hit is like -11, but after the meter burn version, it's now only -4, so completely safe. And since this move was armored, what a lot of Tanya players would do is just the first 2 hits, and then when you tried to punish them or just take your turn back, they would go for the meter burn version instead and then catch you for a follow-up or a full combo. But then let's talk about Tonfa Toss, a projectile that comes back. So right away, this thing just locks the opponent down. Like straight up, you could throw this thing, and if the opponent hit you, you were actually free and could move afterwards, but they still had to deal with the projectile coming back. And then of course, even if the opponent jumped over it, the follow-up could actually catch them, and if it did, she got a full combo. So even if the first part missed, or even if you interrupted Tanya, the boomerang could still hit you on the way back. So already that's pretty crazy, but things get even more absurd because this move was also plus on block before it got nerfed. It was so plus, you could just go for her jab again and just keep looping it, and the opponent had to deal with this. And just look at all that chip damage. The opponent had to hold this unless they wanted to get hit and then use combo breaker just to escape. Now thankfully this move is no longer plus on block, but just keep in mind it used to be. So not only was it fantastic for zoning because even if it missed or if Tanya got hit, it could still catch the opponent, but even on block it was plus, so it just guaranteed more pressure. But then we have Dragon Naginata. So this was my personal favorite, and it was also Sonic Fox's favorite as well. So to start things off, we have the staff stance. So look how high up Tanya is, and look how she attacks with the spear on the way down. This made her approaches with the teleport pretty much impossible to interrupt. If you did anything, that spear was going to catch you. And that's not good because once this spear touched you, Tanya got a full combo, and this variation was the most damaging before any of the nerfs. And of course the mix-ups don't stop here, so if you press 1, she has an overhead. And yes, this overhead can start combos. And then if you press 3, she has a low. And that's a very far-reaching low too, do not be deceived. This thing has ridiculous range, as does the overhead, so already a mix-up. And then if you press 4, she has the swing kick right here, and this thing is pretty much unpunishable. So a lot of players, if you blocked this staff mix-up, they would just do that and they're completely safe. And on top of all of that, Tanya could jump off the staff by pressing 2 once again. And if she held the direction, she would hop that way. So she could hop backwards, and most importantly, she could hop forward. And then she could hop forward and just do the staff again and extend combos. So already that's really strong. You pretty much can't interrupt her teleport because again, before the nerfs, she recovered almost immediately, and that spear hit straight down right away. If you pressed any buttons, you were getting hit. And once you did get hit, she could easily extend combos with this thing for a lot of damage. And next up we have the swing kick. So really good range on this thing, pretty fast too, so great for whiff punishing, all that great stuff. And it is technically punishable, but look at all the pushback. You had to run in if you wanted to punish this character. However, if you spent the bar, Tanya was only -10 and she's now on top of her staff, so more mix-ups just cometh. Don't press any buttons, you're gonna get snagged for a full combo. Compared to the staff stance, the swing kick isn't that much, but just keep in mind it was pretty much unpunishable against a lot of characters, so it was very great for extending combos, or you could just throw it out. And in fact, I almost forgot to mention, if you did this move immediately into 4, she was pretty much uninterruptible, you were guaranteed to get hit, and once again, she's safe against most characters when she did this. And of course, we gotta talk about the different attack strings. So first up, we have Ankle Cutter. So just look at the range on this first hit with the back 1. Ridiculous, right? Now it is a high attack, so you could duck under it, but I just want you to keep in mind, this far-reaching move was +2 on block. Yes, this was plus. Despite having fantastically good range, it's also plus. And then you had Spin Cycle, which was the most damaging way to end combos, and I think might actually be the most damaging way to extend combos. And despite doing all of that damage, it's also completely safe on block at only -2, so very, very strong. And then last and also least, we have Slicing Wind. So the first hit has decent range, and it's a mid, and I love the animation. It's fun, ends in an overhead, but is completely punishable on block. It does have range, I guess it has that going for it. It could whiff punish things even on the second hit, but overall not a super useful string. In summary, this variation made Tanya very tough to hit and also complemented her teleports very, very well with the staff stance, and then out of the staff stance she had a bunch of ways to keep herself safe or extend combos for some really good damage. And finally we have the Pyromancer variation. This one was my least favorite because it mostly revolved around zoning and keep away, and oddly enough, when every other variation was nerfed, this one actually got buffs. And as a result, this became the best variation Tanya had for a little bit. So right off the bat, Tanya has fireballs. She has an anti-air fireball, or she has a regular one that does in fact hit mid despite the arc. And look how fast this thing recovers, and I want you to keep in mind it used to recover much faster, but you know variation 3 Johnny Cage? Yeah, Tanya was doing it first and she did it just as well. And then the amplified versions were pretty much instant and also did more damage as well. So if you thought, oh, I can slowly walk in and react to these things or try to trade with her, she had a faster option that also did more damage. And then worst of all, she had the exact same fireballs in the air. She had a far-reaching version or a closer-reaching version, and she could do both after her teleport. Yeah, so she's variation 3 Johnny Cage if he could also fly. And once again, just one teleport in your full screen and you can already start your keep away. And if the opponent wants to chase you, they're gonna have a very tough time. Even if they run, you have the close option to catch them for doing that too. Or if you spent the bar, she threw 2 of them. Look how dumb this is. Look how much of the screen she covers. So yeah, most players, even at the pro level, would just run away and throw a bunch of fireballs. If they didn't think one fireball could do it, they would throw 2. And yes, it was even possible for both of these fireballs to hit if you spaced them properly. So next up, let's talk about Dark Shroud, or as most players called it, Dust. So by itself, this move might not seem like much. It doesn't do very much damage, but as long as the opponent is coated in purple, a single fireball now does way more damage. Look at all that damage to Reptile's health bar. So what this meant was, if you were playing Tanya, you would just launch the opponent, end with Dust, run away, and then throw a fireball, and if it connected, you got crazy good damage. And once again, I must remind you that it is possible to get both of these fireballs to hit, and if they do, look at that. Look at that damage, 26%. And before, there was actually a glitch where you could get 36%, and I'm not sure why it happened. But even so, that damage was possible, so just keep that in mind. And this attack was not just good for fireballs, it also beefed up this string as well, because in this variation, Tanya swings with this Fire Fist of Doom. She has a Burn Knuckle, and if that string lands while you're purple, you get all this extra damage. Boom, look at that. And you might be thinking, well, okay, but I'll just block low because that's what the string starts as, so whenever I'm purple, I'm just gonna block low. Well, Tanya also had this overhead, and this overhead could be run canceled, and once you run canceled, you could just go for a low immediately, so like this, and it was very, very tough to block on reaction. And oh, did I forget to mention that Dust is actually plus 50 on hit? So if Tanya did anything at all and landed this move, you had to deal with this overhead mix-up. It wasn't just a shenanigan, you had to hold it. And then on top of all of that, you also had a throw mix-up, because once again, she's plus 50, so get ready to hold that as well. And I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe there was actually a glitch at one point where her throw did more damage during Dust as well, and I have no idea why. However, we're still not done, because there is one more very dirty trick that Tanya players would use. So this Dust attack was only -4 on block. So if you dared to take your turn back, they would just do the meter burn version right away, which had armor. And of course, this interrupted any attack you went for. In a nutshell, this variation was mostly used for keep away, and the teleports made it very easy to either advance or run away whenever you wanted to and hit the opponent every single time with your fireballs. Or if you wanted to get close, you had the Dust attack, which made you plus 50 on hit, so you could go for a low overhead mix-up, really good shenanigans. This string did a buttload of damage. Or if you wanted to, you could just keep things simple and end with Dust and then run away. If the fireball landed, you got a bunch of damage. Or you had the meter burn fireballs, which covered pretty much the entire screen. Yeah, this character was nuts. So whenever people complain about keep away in MK11, y'all haven't seen nothing. And that's pretty much all there is to say about this character, what made her great universally, and what made every single variation very good as well. And after learning all this information, you can probably guess why a lot of players were really upset and why NetherRealm decided to add the 2-week waiting period for any DLC characters at tournaments. And honestly, it's just kind of crazy crazy to think about how Tanya did all of that. Who would have thought back in the day, like you're playing MK4 or Armageddon, who would have thought that Tanya of all characters would be this busted? But there you have it, everyone. The character's so busted, so broken, so overpowered that she changed the tournament rules forever. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below. It really does help the channel out a ton. And then why not keep that combo going by suplexing that subscribe button? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.